Hi, you've reached another video from Shopsmith Troubleshooting and Tips. You can join the discussion by following us on our Facebook group page, and of course, please subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Thanks.
Hey guys, so this is Christopher. So my buddy Danny and I, we went out last week scrounging around for some wood, and we saw a older gentleman on the other side of town from the woodworking club, and we were able to buy these boards. This happens to be a cherry board. It looks like it's about an inch thick. It's rough sawn, and we're going to cut this board at 22 inches, and what we're going to do is then cut that piece, or run that piece through the planer, and then we're going to cut it in half, and then we're going to make two bowls out of this little section. And if you look over here, these are all the other planks that we were able to pick up. There's that's walnut right there, right, Dan?
No, over
the
there.
First one. Isn't that walnut
yes,
too?
That's walnut.
That's walnut. There's some red oak, I believe. There's that Pennsylvania pine back there. But anyway,
sassafras.
That's right. That sassafras is back there. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and cut this real quick, and then run it through the planer. Okay, all right, so now what we're gonna do is go ahead and plane that board. So I'm just gonna open the barn door here. Hello, dog. And we will plane this real quick.
That's a nice piece of wood.
We just got done planing the board, and we planed it down to 3/4 of an inch. And if you look at the detail of the board here, let's get my light here. It's really pretty. And so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take the edge off right here, and then we're gonna cut it into two sections. So now we're gonna cut it in half. Okay, so now that we've cut it in half, now we're just gonna locate the center, and I'm just gonna go corner to corner with a line, and the same over here to get our line. The punch, going to use a Sharpie to draw another reference line. I'm just gonna go from the center out to one edge. And we're going to use this later on to help align the grain. So the pencil marks are helping us find the center, and the Sharpie is our reference for later on. So I'm just going to use a compass here to get a good round. Okay, now we're going to just cut the corners off. I'm using the fence as a guide, but I'm not putting the wood directly against it because I don't want it to, I just want it to cut off. Sometimes it'll, when it cuts, it'll shoot the piece back. This is a 1/2-inch Forstner bit, and this is going to be the same size as the shank on the Ringmaster. And what we're going to do is drill a hole through the cherry here. Drill that out. You don't want to rush it because I don't want to break it out on the other side. So I like to stop. I got an old paintbrush that has some glue on it. Rather than just throw it away, I use it to clean the bit. Complete serendipity. Okay, so this is a Ringmaster. It's made by a company called Ringmaster, but this one is particularly made for the Shopsmith, and it actually bolts right onto the rails of the Shopsmith. There's an Allen bolt right here in the middle, and I'm just gonna tighten that up on the rails, and that keeps the Ringmaster sturdy and in place. And then over here, what I've got is a Shopsmith speed reducer, and then an old Mark V. And this is a 7-to-1 speed reducer. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna turn it until I have my flat of the shank of the speed reducer up. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna line the wood, our mark, with that. So if we ever have to, later on when we dismount the bowl and we go to sand, we can put it right back on the way it was. So I'm just gonna take the nut off here, and I'm gonna go ahead and mount our piece, and making sure that we keep that line pointing upwards. We're just gonna tighten it up. The reason we use the speed reducer is that with the cherry in particular, we found that it's pretty delicate wood, and when you spin it at 700 RPMs in the Ringmaster, a lot of times the rings will blow apart. And so what we've done, Dan and I have been experimenting, and we found that if we use the speed reducer, we get a little bit better control. These are 2 carbide blades on the Ringmaster, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the headstock up so that I can use or center the wood between these 2 guys. So now what I'm going to do is just bring it back just so that it gets in between the 2 pieces, or the 2 cutters. And now I'm going to tighten my headstock. I'm going to tighten up the speed reducer. There's an alignment key, and what I'm going to do is put this pin in where if you look over here, Dan, see how it's just catching the wood right there? So we're going to just catch the wood, and you'll notice these lines right here, Dan. See those lines? Those are that's essentially the angle of the bowl. And so I'm going to keep this right on that reference line. That's going to hold that cut steady. And then I'm going to wiggle my pin in there. And then as we make the rings, we'll pull the pin, advance, go to the next hole, and that controls the width of the thickness of the bowl. Disclaimer: this is an old Shopsmith. It makes lots of funny noises, so please don't, be too critical, but here we go. I'm gonna make the cut on this side first, so that when I come in this way on the last cut, it pushes the ring off the front. So here we go. Just wanna Sometimes if you just back off just a little bit, makes it just a little bit easier. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to back out all the way, hopefully. Just a second here. You can almost hear it change. Hear how it changes that sound? And there it goes. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the Shopsmith. I'm going to pull the pin. I'm going to loosen. I'm going to get the wood out of the way. This can go in the fire pit. And now what I'm going to do is go back to my hole, to my reference here. And I'm going to just tighten that down. And what I'm going to do, if you look right here, this little lip, I'm just going to run that blade right by that lip to try to get, you know, take that off.
It eliminates a lot of sanding.
Yeah. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're just going to run that by. It doesn't burn your fingers and stuff. Now what we're going to do is pull the pin, loosen this up, move it to the next hole, cut the next ring. Look, that's what advances the cutting blade. So now we're going to make our next ring. Alright, now let's go ahead and turn that off. The piece out of the way, run that back, put the pin back in.
Now you're ready for your next.
And we'll go ahead and run that by to get that lip off. And then we'll put the sandpaper on. Ready? And we'll sand. Alright, so we'll make the next cut. So now you can see we just cut the second ring. I put the dot in alignment with our Sharpie mark, and if I line the dots up like that,
that grain will be the same.
Yeah, that grain will match just perfect. Now you can also do things like if you wanted to move it over 90 degrees, so it's like an offset. So you can, or you could do 180, you know, etc. So, but we've been doing them stacked up just like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it looks pretty good, don't you? Here we go. Line up the dots, and when we glue it, we'll do a, you know, really make a concerted effort to line it up. But for right now, you just get the sense of what we're doing. I'll go ahead and sand this. All right, that's nice and smooth. There we go.
base.
Dot. Just there. Voila.
Now you have a bowl that isn't glued yet.
Yep. And when we glue it, we're going to glue everything but this. And that's where then we're going to do the overlap thing.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and glue these up. Level right there.
It's level.
This piece right here, and see how it's a little off to the one side? See that?
Mm-hmm.
What we'll do is we'll sand it on this just a hair, and that will get us to a point where we're level. I'm just going to take it off, and I'm just going to rub it here, and I'm just going to put a little bit more pressure on this side than this side. And just a little bit will do it. Now I'll put it back, and now you can see. Is that about? That's
That's
perfect.
level. Yeah.
Okay, and then I'm just going to take it again, and I'm going to see how this side's rough. I'm just going to to take that edge off, that's all. Okay, just so that it has a nice smooth surface to glue to. And so here's our first piece. Okay, and now we can take our second piece.
I'm putting the mark.
Yep.
Oh, power.
Let me get a cord.
I'm gonna shut her down.
Yeah, there you go.
And you can see it's quite level now, so we can glue.
But before we do that, we have to drink this.
But see, all the marks are aligned pretty close. It's showing it's pretty level, so
We should make
we actually sanded each ring down just a little bit to get all the rough edges, and it's pretty close.
With this here.
Yeah.
So just before we glue, because we're just going to clean up this inside mess, just because it's easier to sand it while it's here than it is when it's in a bowl. Still a little bit there, but there's
That's
one.
all right.
Let me get this
Most
one
of the sand.
to jig up. We'll get those lines perfect here in just a minute, but you get the picture here. So that's the next step. So we're using this bevel gauge here to just help us get the dots along. I think it looks pretty good. All right, so we're using cyanoacrylate glue. This is a 15-minute bond.
Line your dots.
There's my dot right here, and here's my dot right there. Okay. All right. And we'll put another ring on. We've got this all glued up, but we are not going to glue the bottom on yet. We're just going to put it on there for alignment purposes.
but we don't want to glue it because we're gonna need that out of the way for when we wrap the bowl. This is a different bowl, but this one was further along in the process. But Dan's put, what did you use? Was it urethane or was it?
Yeah, polyurethane.
Yeah, I usually use lacquer, but you can see that
I've got 4 coats on here.
Yeah, 4 coats, and it's dried for 48 hours. Yeah. Took a little bit of this
1,000 grit.
Yeah, this wet dry sandpaper, and we do it the old-fashioned way. We have an old bucket and a stump, a couple of chairs, and of course we have to have some brews. Just like iridescent. Shopsmith makes a great buffer. These are pads. There's 3 sets of pads there, all stacked together. In other words, there's 3 on this wheel, 3 on that wheel, 3 on that wheel. I got those on 4. And there's the after. Yeah, get the good part. That one's going to be really pretty too.
Yeah. Let's let it get dry. I'd hate to see it split apart. I've had one do that and had to realign it.
Yeah. And what we're going to do is kind of make some sort of a design here, and then we're going to cut it, and then we're going to overlap it, and then that's the trick.
Wrap effect.
So that's what we made before. So if you look on the inside, you can see exactly what we did. So this is just a brass nut, and we just took it. I'm going to sneeze. Took it, overlapped it, put a nut through it, and made kind of, I guess we're calling it a button bowl. So
Very good.
Ta-da.